Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Welcome to another update on the war in Ukraine. You are listening to The Account. We will start our news section with the evening report by the General Staff of Ukraine. The units of the Belarusian Special Operations Forces, which are part of the regional grouping of the troops of the so-called Union State of the Russian Federation and the Republic of Belarus, are involved in strengthening the section of the state border. The occupiers continue to suffer losses. Local hospitals of the Shchastin district of the Luhansk Oblast are overloaded due to the large number of wounded invaders. The enemy is forced to medically evacuate wounded servicemen to the city of Luhansk. It was confirmed that an enemy object was damaged in the area of the settlement of Svatove on November 25th of this year. About 70 enemy servicemen were there. The number of wounded and dead occupiers is being specified. And now for the main flashpoints along the front. Bakhmut. Ukrainian forces are inflicting heavy losses on Russian units. The battles around the now infamous gas station continue. Under the cover of darkness, Russian units tried to enter the city from the north, but were discovered by a drone with thermal cameras. Subsequently, Ukrainian artillery fire stopped the advance. Pavlivka. The UK Ministry of Defence intelligence update already covered key points of this battle. However, today's reports indicate that heavy fighting continues around the city. Ukrainian forces are repelling assaults, with Russian units suffering heavy losses. Avdiivka. Yesterday, the General Staff of Ukraine reported about Russian efforts to regroup forces to the front. Meanwhile, Russian forces continue attempting assaults from various directions towards the city. A video shared online shows at least 2 Russian BMPs with infantry being wiped out while trying to storm Kamyanka from the direction of Novoselivka-Druha. Moving on to the UK Ministry of Defence intelligence update. The area around the towns of Pavlivka and Vuhledar in south-central Donetsk Oblast has been the scene of intense combat over the last 2 weeks, though little territory has changed hands. Both Russia and Ukraine have significant forces committed to the sector, with Russian naval infantry having suffered heavy casualties. This area remains heavily contested, likely partially because Russia assesses the area has potential as a launch point for a future major advance north to capture the remainder of Ukrainian-held Donetsk Oblast. However, Russia is unlikely to be able to concentrate sufficient quality forces to achieve an operational breakthrough. As you might recall from yesterday's update, an alleged Ukrainian officer in the reserves claimed that Russia has had irreversible losses of 2,000 soldiers in the area. This UK Ministry of Defence intelligence update would corroborate that claim. And now we will switch over to the important news of the day. According to an assessment by the Institute for the Study of War, the overall pace of fighting in Ukraine is likely to increase in the upcoming weeks. US analysts, as well as Ukrainian and Russian reports from frontline areas, indicate that operations on both sides are currently bogged down due to bad weather and resulting mud. However, temperatures are forecasted to drop significantly over the coming weeks, which would result in frozen ground and the possibility to increase mobility and the pace of fighting. And now a quick Kyiv update. Today, on November 27, the Kyiv City Military Administration reported that power, water, heat, and communications are almost completely restored in the city. This comes after reports that Kyiv residents had to endure interruptions to critical infrastructure since Russia's massive missile attack on November 22nd. Yesterday, it was reported that Kherson had been reconnected to the power grid. Today, in an effort to disrupt the normal life of Kherson citizens, Russian attacks targeted the newly restored power lines. The damage, however, turned out to be minor and was repaired in less than half an hour, according to Yaroslav Yanushevich, head of the Kherson Regional Military Administration. Russia is taking new measures in an effort to fill the ranks of the units. In their morning update, the General Staff of Ukraine claimed that according to credible sources, Russia is planning a new covert mobilization in the Russian Federation and the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine on December 10th. Furthermore, based on a report of the Daily Beast, officials at the Southern Federal University in the city of Rostov-on-Don have started to pressure foreign students to join the Wagner mercenaries or face having their tuition increased or scholarships cancelled altogether. Petro Kotin, the president of Energoatom, claims that there are signs the Russian forces are preparing to abandon the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. He also noted that Russian forces pumped the area full of everything: military equipment, personnel, trucks, likely with armament and explosives, and mined the territory of the entire power plant. A quote: "During the last few weeks, we have been receiving information that they may be preparing to leave the ZNPP. First, there have been many reports in Russian media outlets lately about how Russia may have to leave the ZNPP and transfer it to the EAEA's control. You know, I'm under the impression that they are packing their bags and stealing everything they see." Today, the president of Belarus, Lukashenko, claimed that the United States of America is holding back Ukraine from negotiations with Russia and is planning to put down Europe while getting closer to China. A quote: "If you mean the leadership of Ukraine, then most definitely they are holding them back. The Americans want to put Europe down with one blow, in one go, and get close to China through Russia. Of course, by crushing Russia." Today, Liga.net published an article citing a New York Times article titled "US and NATO Scramble to Arm Ukraine and Refill Their Own Arsenals." "A day in Ukraine is a month or more in Afghanistan," said Camilla Grant, a defense expert at the European Council on Foreign Relations, who was until recently NATO's Assistant Secretary General for Defense Investment. While NATO forces fired around 300 shells per day, the armed forces of Ukraine fire thousands of rounds. According to NATO representatives, the amount of artillery used is staggering. In the Donbas alone, during the summer, the Ukrainians were firing 6,000 to 7,000 artillery rounds each day, while the Russians were firing 40,000 to 50,000 rounds per day. By comparison, the United States produces only 15,000 rounds each month. And now a quick update from Twitter news outlets. The center of Donetsk City was shelled today. Locals report power outages. So far, it is unknown who shelled the city and why. However, the separatist government blames Ukrainian forces for it. And that wraps up today's news report. If you want to read about individual topics in more detail, you can find links to the articles in the description. Thank you for listening in and have a great day. This was The Account. Slava Ukraini.